Good evening and welcome to the City of Isani City Council Committee of a Whole meeting for Tuesday, February 16th. Seating may be limited, and if you would like to send in a comment for public comment or a public hearing to be read on your behalf, please submit it to our city clerk at jstrand@cityofisani.us or call her at 763-762-5759. I'd like to call this meeting to order. If we could all rise for Pledge Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All council members are present. Mr. Burgley, fashionably late as always. Any public comment at this time? All right, let's move on to committee meeting items with E1, police updates. Chief Myers.
Mayor and Council, if I may, just before we get started, I believe that Ms. Brooks sent out a text to everyone. We do have a very lengthy agenda with some times I attached to it, so I'll try to keep everyone on task. If we need to push an item to the following Committee of the Whole meeting, we could do that for further discussion. Otherwise, I will be kind of wrapping each item up as we get to that timeline. Thank you.
I forgot to mention that, Ms. Wood. Thank you. It's been a crazy day. But it's good to see you guys, nonetheless. It's kind of not saying we don't want to talk about these items, but we got to kind of keep them in a window. We can always bring them back.
All right, Mayor and Council, just to be quick, I'll try to get the last 3 year statistics out to you through the admin updates coming up. Not sure how that's going to look because in June of 2020, the FBI reporting system changed. So the data prior to that doesn't really mesh up, so we're trying to see how we can get it so it looks the same, so at least get the same numbers out of that, so we'll get that out there. So you can kind of see over the last 3 years just our FBI reported crime statistics and where they trended or didn't trend over the last 3 years. Just an update, we did order the speed sign per council's request. I'm not sure when that's going to be here. I think they said 6 to 8 week turnaround, and that comes with 3 brackets, so we'll be able to put that up in 3 different places. We'll work with Matt and his staff to get the brackets put on different places, and hopefully we'll have that up within a month if we can get it. And staffing today and tomorrow and next week, they're doing interviews for the vacant police officer position, so they'll hopefully find another qualified candidate like we have in the past to fill that, and then we'll be at our full staff, including that grant position starting this year. The only thing I'd just like to mention is with our new staff, we have quite a few officers that are new to the department with a big turnaround. Granted, they're not new to law enforcement. This year, we've developed our training plan, so we're having many different officers go to different trainings to do our in-house trainings. And we're gonna still do the minimum post-required trainings with the county and other agencies, but we have a training plan to increase our training to an in-house level. So we're sending 2 officers to use of force and different defensive tactics, 2 different officers to firearms, and 2 other officers to other trainings, and then to do in-house trainings. That's kind of our training plan from going forward. So a lot of our officers will be out in training this year for instructor stuff to bring it back to the in-house section. That being it, I'll send something out just with the crime statistics, and if you have any questions, you can contact me.
Thank you very much, Chief. We'll go to E2, liquor updates. John.
Okay, I'll be brief on this. Obviously, you can read through this. I had some new things come up that we can save some money. Our firewall, we pay $660 a year. If we change to a different service company, we can save a couple $100 a year. Going that route, had some issues with the one that I have. Credit card processing, every year fees go up. So I've got a new company that which I was through Heartland, and we can save $224 to $250 a month just by switching. And any fees that would come about, we would get an explanation as to what they are. So that would be that. Then I'm trying to get online and curbside going at least a couple months before we open the new store. So I've kind of got some things down there, what it would cost to do online order and be an $800 setup and $100 a month. If the customer pays online, the cost of that is $3,000 setup, $200 a month, and a 1 to 10% fee actually for online sales transactions, because you'd hire a company to do all that for you. So those are a couple of options. I'm thinking we probably want to go with just online order. They pay when they come, and then we'd have to buy equipment that would work wirelessly, and they would just pay with their credit card right outside the curbside door and or cash, however we want to do it. Obviously, we need to have the register set up, so that and all the costs are listed in there for startup with new credit card machines and such. So just wanted you to be informed of what the cost involved in that is. So those are kind of the few things that I just wanted you to look at. Obviously, sales, you can see we had a great year last year. We were up 62,000 just for January. So I'll be explaining a lot of things in the next several months at COW, trying to get little pieces of it so we can put it together. So, any questions?
Just one real quick. I don't want to get in too much detail, but so curbside pickup, how will you know when someone pulls up?
So how the system works is it's through our current software guy, and they can just go to a website that he would create. It has all the items in it. They would order it. We'd get their information, their name and their phone number. So if we didn't have something, we could call them and say, sorry, we don't have this. Then it would print out. We'd put the order together. They'd come to curbside pickup. We'd go out, use their credit card, because we carry a machine with us that would work wirelessly, and pay for it there. And or if they're paying cash, we just go back in and grab the change.
How do you know the
How do-
customer's there? That's, I guess, my.
Yeah, how do you know when they're at the
Similar to the-
store?
So we're setting up cameras to do that, so that we'll have availability to see that when it happens, so.
Or it might end up being like the grocery stores where you call when you're there.
Correct.
And they have it
Same
on a
thing.
shelf and they just grab it and bring it out.
Yep,
Oh, thank you.
yep.
Sweet. Good job, Chief. Good job, John. Let's go to E3, Council Chamber Rental Policy.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So as you can see in the packet, I put the old policy in there. It's from 2008, pretty outdated. I did bring it to committee, not really because there's anything major changing, just because it's so old of a policy. I thought I would bring that forward. Some changes that we made within there is that we put a damage deposit, that we updated the tobacco use, and then we used to allow what we call the library meeting room, which is just our staff meeting room, open to the public, as you can see in the old one. I did remove that, one, because there's just not even enough time for staff to be able to use that meeting room, and then for safety features as well. We don't want the public into our locked, secure area, so that was changed in there.
So you're proposing to rent out this room?
This room has always been allowed to be rented out as long as it was during the day. That policy started in 2008. If you want to keep that, that's the draft that's included within your packet. If you want to stop that, let me know.
So it's always been there, nobody's ever rented it out, though?
Very rarely do we ever rent it out. As you can see, it needs to be not-for-profit, it cannot be political, it needs to be for the betterment of the residents because it's a community facility. So there are stipulations with it.
Any questions, comments, or discussion on that?
I thought it looked good.
Thank you.
What are you looking for on that, Ms. Wood?
Just consensus, and I will move it forward to council.
I think it looks good the way it is.
Thank you.
Anybody else object, can speak now or forever hold your peace. Alrighty then, moving on to E4, Veterans Memorial Discussion.
So I did reach out, it had been brought up briefly during goal setting. So I reached out with a couple other cities to find out what the costs are. As you can imagine, it widely varies due to the materials used. If you have marble or granite, big stones, little stones, statues, no statues. But really what I'm looking for is direction from the committee today, is to find out, is this something that we want to include in preliminary documents that come forward with the amphitheater? Or would we want to look at this separate at a later time, not to impact any costs that we have at the amphitheater? Therefore, we can maybe discuss it after reaching out to some other organizations in the area like the VFW and talk about it at future meetings.
I think we should definitely reach out to the VFW, the Lions Club, see if they want to put anything or implement anything. Maybe they want to take on some of the costs or donate
Maybe,
something or.
yeah, or, you know, yellow, beyond yellow ribbon.
Yeah.
They might be helpful.
The cities that I reached out or heard back from, it was not initiated by the city. It was initiated by either the Legion or VFW. The city maybe did donate some cost or some features with it. One was the county land, one was city land. But it wasn't started and initiated by the city. It was other organizations came to the city for assistance.
Well, we're Isani and we come to them first.
Yeah, and maybe even think of some ways we could do some fundraising, if that's possible. Or just, you know, put it out there that we could receive donations.
I think I would be interested in throwing the line and bait and bobber out there and see if anything happened. I mean, if it don't, then we all talk about it again and maybe not do it. But
I
if,
mean, I like the idea of them coming to us and letting them do it. I mean, we could provide the property and the space in the park, but, I mean, I like the idea of a private entity coming in and working with us on that. Didn't you say the city of Cambridge, you thought was like $100,000 they put toward?
I can't remember what the city actually put towards it. I know the property was donated by a private person and,
Okay.
I have the city of Foley's totaled 80,000. City of Malacca is nearing, looks like over 150,000, just because they have some granite, that was some higher costs, but not that was not contributed by the city. That was just overall cost of the project. If what I'm hearing from the committee is not to include this kind of work with the amphitheater, I would recommend having our new parks coordinator look more into it and reach out to the VFW and some other organization and clubs.
I like that recommendation.
Yeah, that sounds good.
do we have a new parks coordinator?
It's on the agenda tonight to hire Miss Alyssa, and I forget her last name, but she did accept the position and will likely begin on March 8th.
Okay, let's move on to D5, lighting and snow making for Sledding Hill.
Mayor and members of the City Council, this was a goal-setting item that was brought back or to get more information on. It would be, if we add lighting to the Sledding Hill now, it would be approximately $5,100. The other option is to wait until the amphitheater is constructed and install lighting at that time. Looking for direction on that. And the other one is the snowmaking machine to purchase to be able to create snow for the Sledding Hill. And that was roughly $2,500.
I think we could wait on the lighting. I mean, the days are starting to get a little longer at this point, I think. That's my opinion.
My
Yeah.
opinion is to wait till we do something with the amphitheater, because at that time, there's gonna be a lot of rooting going around in there, and I don't think at that time it'd be that much more to add lights. But I do think that we need to probably get the snowmaker portion of it done. And I think Mr. Sylvester and his resources and watching ads and stuff that buy that pressure washer, I think he can probably find what he needs between now and next year at this time, you know, to buy the pressure washer that's required for that. And he might be able to save us some money on that portion of it.
What do you need for pressure washer size? Do you know?
I want to say 8 gallons a minute or something like that. And I don't have the information in front of me right now, but it wasn't just a smaller one. I had to look for like an upsize one. Reason why it was the $1,300, so that it had enough water. And we don't have a portable, or we have a air compressor down there that runs on gas now, so we could utilize that. So it was just the snowmaking machine and the pressure washer, but I had to get one that was a little bit bigger so that it had enough water to run it, to create the snow.
Couldn't have Scott MacGyver build anything, huh?
No.
I would have to agree. I would think that once an amphitheater is built, we could implement all that at the same time.
Save a
So,
little,
save a little money.
and-
And then that snowmaking machine would be crucial now. I mean, you've done your homework on it, Matt, so I trust you.
I don't know if I support a snowmaking machine. I mean, when has anyone relied on a city hill to,
We
Throw snow
panicked
there.
for our grand opening.
well, that's a grand opening. I mean, if it wasn't a grand opening, I don't
There's-
think anyone would really care. I mean,
There's, there's been times though we've had not any snow in December.
no, I get that. I mean,
The
I told
communi-
I promised my granddaughter I'd take her sledding on December 14th, her birthday, and I couldn't go, so.
I would have never, I guess I would have never thought of doing a snowmaking machine until you got prices, and I was like, wow. You know, that's not that big of an investment for family fun. It's a lot cheaper, you know, and then a lot of other investments we've done in city parks, by
I
far.
just think overall, I think you're gonna get snow most years.
I just think that if you spent, if a snowmaking machine was $30,000, no.
No.
I wouldn't even
No.
consider that.
No.
We're at 10% of it, we're at less than,
We're just gonna still have
$3
under,
grand? I don't think that's a bad
we'll
investment.
still have under 10 grand into probably the entire project, I'm guessing.
Well, that's the initial investment, then it's gonna take cost for people to go out there and run it. and
Have you
repair it.
driven by that hill at all since we did the grand opening?
Yeah,
It's packed all the time.
no, I get that. I'm not saying it's not packed. I'm not saying I totally oppose it, and I want it to snow because I love to go sledding myself.
What's a swing set cost these days, like the Bluebird Park?
I've just never seen the
Swing set.
city buy a snowmobile
7, 8 grand?
myself.
Yeah,
don't know.
it's about 9,000 for the one at
For-
Bluebird Park, I believe.
Yeah, for a
That's
swing
because we
set.
care about our community, so it's no
I mean,
good.
Well,
I think
care about
it's
my community,
probably one of the cheaper things we,
Mayor Johnson.
One thing you could look at is, committee is how much it costs per year. So like a swing set's gonna last you approximately 25 years. Maybe on this kind of equipment, would you say maybe 10 years? You're looking at $250 per year for that 10-year investment.
Yeah, it really depends
Maybe
on the year,
longer.
whether you need it or not. You would have snow earlier in the year, you'd have snow later in the year. It'd be,
Yeah.
how often.
it's kind of like
Every
a
year might be
mosquito
different.
machine. Some weeks you're not gonna need it.
Exactly. The company that I did talk to, just so you know, said that they have had record sales with cities and schools and just private people building snow hills. This was a year, he said for the last year, it just was, it's a thing, so.
Yeah.
It's not new, this year was a crazy year for us.
I never knew they were really that affordable.
Yeah.
As far as the lights, I stood on top of that hill last night just to check it out. You can see, I mean, there'd be no problem sledding down that hill right now, and that was at like 10 o'clock at night, or, well, I guess it was 9 something, but I think the lights we could definitely wait on. And then as far as the snowmaking, I mean, what kind of time does that take for you guys? I mean, I know it's 8 hours or something, I think, was to make 6 inches at 20 degrees, but, I mean, how much time will you actually have to spend out there doing that and
Being as close to the shop that it would just be us monitoring it, and we
Okay.
would have to move it, so all depends on the wind, we could start here, and we'd have to move it down the hill so it'd get over in this area, it all depends on what way the wind is blowing, how far it's carrying it, but we would have to move it a couple different times,
Yeah.
and then it'd just be us monitoring, make sure we didn't run out of gas, that really, and just keep an eye on it, making sure everything's still doing what it's supposed to do, so.
And I think as long as the sun's up, we have a pretty respectable community. You're not gonna have kids out there messing with that thing unless the sun was down. Otherwise, I don't think anybody will touch that thing. And from them monitoring it from the Public Works building, I mean, pretty much you just have to set it up and walk away from it and come
That's
and
something.
change it every once in a while.
I mean, I guess there's plenty of snow on it right now. I mean, it's packed down, but it looks like a fun, it looks
You
like
haven't
a lot of
slid-
fun. I mean,
you
you
haven't
really
been down
fly
it yet?
I haven't been down it. It looks
Oh,
like
you gotta
really
bring your
fly down
kids.
it. But, I mean, I would lean more toward Paul that I think if it snows, and I don't think it's something we necessarily have to worry about. I mean, they don't maintain the sledding hill in Cambridge, and they've got a great hill for it. It's a natural hill, and
They got more shade too, so that helps keep.
it helps keep more on it.
That's the problem with
That's the
this one,
problem
it
with
faces
ours.
south.
Totally open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder if are we gonna grass that thing in the summer? I mean,
Yeah.
It's seeded.
I wonder if it's gonna hold the
Yeah,
the
it's-
snow
I
better.
believe it's
mean,
seeded
dirt
already,
will-
isn't it?
Dirt will melt faster than grass.
That's the plan.
Yeah, the grass just didn't come in yet, but it is seeded, yeah,
Okay.
So come spring, it should start popping, and
yeah.
by next year, we'll have grass there, but still, I mean, if it was a $30 investment, I'm with Councilman Lundin, there's no way I'd spring for that. I mean, 2,500 is a small investment to make sure a community has a hill and fun to partake in their family.
And I think there's other places we can take that from, for Park and Rec could come out of a certain fund that doesn't get used on it or something. It's not like I said, if it was $10,000, I'd say no. We're not talking half of that, so I don't think it's that big an investment.
One thing we can do is wait till it gets a little bit later, maybe early fall, late summer, and just see where we're at with our replacement parks items. We may have, I think it's very, very likely that we would have money to find funding for this within the parks budget already and not have to expend more.
Yeah, that would be good.
And in the meantime, he can monitor to see what he can find used, and maybe we'll come up with something. Someone who purchased it over this winter, doesn't want over the summer, may dump it, and we wouldn't need to buy brand new.
So amount of time is not of the essence with that price, do you think? I mean,
Say that again?
You think
is time of the essence with that price that you quoted us when the,
No,
No.
okay.
no.
you don't think in the summer it'll go up?
Probably go down.
I would tell you if anything would go down. Yeah, I mean, the demand is now for it. The demand wouldn't be this summer,
Is that, I wonder, is that something that would take a while to get, depending on how many they have in stock? I'm just thinking what time would be right to order it so we have it.
It's coming from if this one would come from Pennsylvania, so I mean, it's an item on the shelf, so it'd just be a matter of putting it in the mail and getting it out there, so you could probably look at a week or something like that, I would say.
Okay.
We'd have it, yeah.
I didn't know if it was like, winter,
We have our direction on that?
everybody's.
Yep, I think
putting
we'll
orders in and-
kind of reevaluate in August.
Awesome, let's move on. Irrigation control program and zoning requirements.
Right, so this was brought up earlier as well. You can see within your packet and the memo that I put a potential account that we could use this for and do a rebates and reimbursement. This is again for that irrigation controller unit. And we could do this very similar if the committee is looking to move forward with this, similar to the rain garden reimbursement program where we would have a cap on it, that residents who purchase this controller could they could apply for reimbursement for that amount, not to exceed, I believe it was $200, but we'd have a cap on it every year. So if we had, let's say we allocated 10 people, only 2,000 or something, if more people applied, they'd have to go to the next year and so on and so forth. We could decide what that cap would be. The recommendation from staff on that right now is if you do want to do that, is we then incorporate some funding and we can discuss further at budget time for the 2022 budget.
What was the price on those again, on average?
Average was $200, I believe, on Amazon.
Okay, so if you did like half that, city
And-
reimburse half the cost.
And we could do that too. We
That
would
would
have to
open
come up with a policy of what similar to like that rain garden where we'd say, the rain garden is a 50% reimbursement. This one, if we want to do full, if we want to do half, for sure, we could discuss all that.
I think a 50% on that, and if you're averaging, I mean,
It's something.
people can buy it on Amazon as well as anybody. If that's where we're looking at a price on it, I'd go by the Amazon price, say it's $200, it's a $100 rebate on it. Also, Ms. Woods and I looked at that irrigation requirements on new homes. The way I read it was a development. So let's say this new development, this gentleman just came in here a couple weeks ago, on any of his green space, the way I understood that, he needs to irrigate that. Commercial buildings have to be irrigated, but it's not for the home. It's only for the development, the way I understood
So
that.
just like common green space, you're saying?
That's
Right.
the way
That's
I
how-
read
That's what
it.
I thought too. Is that right
That's,
though?
that's what I understood that, the way that was written. Because I'm gonna tell you, it's ludicrous to require somebody to put irrigation in. Not anybody's gonna wanna spend $3,000 to irrigate their lawn.
Well, and
They're
there's-
smarter to do it before they sod, but that's their choice to make. And also, when you look at this irrigation controlling, if we give them $100 on it, it's gonna save the city money in the long run. Because that's a lot less water that they're gonna have to treat. Chemicals cost money, plain and simple.
I mean, my thought is that it just, if I don't have an irrigation system, then how does that benefit me?
It's no different than the rain garden thing. If you don't have a rain garden,
I
how's
would
that
argue the
benefiting
same-
you?
I'd argue the same thing about that, but
But it's there.
Yeah.
And
It's just an incentive for someone to
it's
be
an
more
incentive
green.
for somebody to do that to help the city save some money.
But does it, I mean, I guess, does it save the city money as far as processing the water, or, I mean, the customer is paying for the water to be processed, right? And so, I mean, does it really save us money, or just,
I mean, less water usage is less chemicals we purchase to treat the water. Could look at it that way.
But that's being paid for by the residents, right? I mean,
right, as the resident uses the water, they pay for it though, so it doesn't really like save us money, it's,
But it's going to save everybody money because that gallon per use is gallon per use. If the city uses less water, that's gonna drive everybody's water bill down. If we use less chemicals, and eventually in the long run, the city could lower the water bill charge because they're using less and less chemicals. If we didn't have to use any chemicals, what are we paying for? You know, you're paying for the well and the power to run it, but you know, it's the chemicals that we have to treat the water with. So when we use less and less chemicals, even though it's gonna save us, everybody in the long run.
We already have, I mean, typically in summer months, we have, you know, watering restrictions in place, odds and even days depending on your house number. Is that still, that's still in effect?
We do that if we need to, correct? Yep, even in odd days.
Yeah, and that's just to save on our wells that are, you know.
Another way to look at this too is it provides an incentive for people to have irrigation. If the goal of the city council is to have a nice green landscape looking yards, if that isn't, that's fine too, but if you like the way that looks, it gives people an incentive to have an irrigation, and then we help you out because it aesthetically looks nice to our city.
Weeds don't like water.
My neighbors all shows that. You know which one I'm talking about.
Is this incentive for someone that
Yeah.
doesn't have a new development? If you own a house that's been there for a while, can you put it in and still get
Yep,
this?
this would be for anyone, new or existing, that would have irrigation for their yard.
Okay.
Most cities require you to put a rain sensor in. I've stood outside and watched people's rain sensors sitting there and it's raining and it still runs irrigation. And what this does is it does it off of the weather through your internet. It's not, so it's like a Wi-Fi device that goes on your main control valve, your timer. So if it says, you know, if you pull up your weather on your phone, it tells you what it's doing outside. If it's raining, even if it says it's raining and it may just be just a drizzle or a sprinkle, it won't allow it to come on.
I think it's cool, I mean, I just don't wanna subsidize it is all, so, I mean, I'm all for people buying it, and, you know, I don't wanna pay tax dollar money for them to do it, and I don't see how it benefits people that don't have a irrigation system is all, so.
No, there's a lot of things that we do in the city that doesn't benefit everybody, but it benefits certain people. And you're not gonna change that fact. It's either you have one or you don't. I'm gonna be willing to bet you that probably maybe 2 out of every 20 people may look at doing this,
I don't think there's gonna be that many that's gonna take advantage of it.
but we're gonna give that option. I personally, we're giving them that option to do that. And personally, I would probably just buy the damn thing myself because you do pay a lot of dollars for that rain sensor that doesn't work.
Well, my rain sensor I had was adjustable by basically after a quarter of an inch of rain that would sense, it would shut off, but, you know, if it wouldn't have kicked on at all, you know, that would have saved me money on my water bill.
So I mean,
You're not only saving the resident, I mean, Councilman Gordon, I get your point of view, because I don't have it either, I get it. But for those that do, you're not only saving them on their water bill, but you're saving the city generalized from not using chemicals, not pumping water, not, you know, so as a whole, we're saving more money little by little. But I'm still kind of in your
We've already
realm.
gone around in circles on that point. too.
Right, I'm still kind of in your realm. I don't know. Literally, I'm in the middle. Literally.
Yeah, I guess I don't, I'm not saying it doesn't save money, I don't see I haven't seen any studies or anything like that saying it just definitely saves money, so I'm not saying anyone's wrong, I'm just.
What city was that came from? Was that Burnsville?
Burnsville.
Yeah.
So
We
they
should,
saved
we
you-
should actually maybe reach out to Burnsville and see if it did save them any money.
We did reach out to them, actually, I believe, Matt, you reached out to them, and they provided information of how many people were using it and how successful they thought the program was. I don't know, did you ever talk to them in person or just that one email?
No, I think it was just the email, but the program was growing. Every year there was more and more people signing up for it. I
Did they
remember.
say why they started it?
They didn't say why they
It's
started
very
it.
possible, I believe that they might be a green city, so it might be part of that.
Green Step.
If you're part of that program or one similar to that, it is about reducing overall consumption for your entity, and for that reason, perhaps they found it was value, but we don't know 100%.
Which this city is rocking that Green Step program.
So, committee,
Just saying.
just for the sake.
Just saying.
Just for the sake of time, it sounds like the irrigation zoning requirements that we have in here is fine. New homes are not required to put it in. That's just in the green spaces of development areas, as we understand it. And then should we further discuss this controller and a program potential when we go to budgeting?
I think so.
I think so, and I think
Because it
maybe we
would be
should get
something
some,
we implemented this year anyways.
We should get some numbers from other cities to see if it is saving money.
You did say one thing I'm curious about, did you say green part of the city has to put in, is that what you said? Did I?
For the irrigation, when you have a communal green space, it sounds like for new developments, sprinkler systems shall be provided as a part of each new development for all landscape areas except those areas on the property that will be preserved as natural
Oh, okay.
in new developments. Okay, we will move on to the next item.
E7, take-home vehicle use policy.
All right, so this was discussed last month at COW as well, and I think that we had a great discussion, and we had consensus on all areas except for the radius of the mileage that the lieutenant would drive, part of this vehicle use policy. You can see that I drafted a resolution that has language in there. We did have this reviewed by the city attorney as well. What you see in front of you is the map. It gives, just centrally located from the point of the center of the city, going out radius miles of 5, 15, and 25. So for round trip, you double that, going out home and then coming back to work. That's just to give you a visual, because I know that there were some things discussed about, do we want to do just Isani County? However, some parts outside the county are closer than the north part of the county. So this is not something that we have to follow, but just gives you a good visual. There are costs within that memo that I'm sure you reviewed, and Mr. Becker can speak on those. They are based upon the 10, 30, and 50-mile round trip miles. This does make an assumption that we are adding one of the vehicles currently used by the Isani PD into the capital improvement plan, which would be actually it's a vehicle currently that the chief is driving. It's hard to guess on the useful life of everything and how it changes, because there will be some rotations taking place within the admin vehicles over at PD to round out those miles. It's not like one vehicle would have 200,000, another one had 40,000 on the life of it, so he would be rotating those around. If you have any finance questions, Mr. Becker will answer that.
Well, it looks like 90% of the community is covered by, or the county, rather, excuse me, by the 15 miles. Is that fair to say? It goes,
Yeah,
it
most of
almost
it.
goes right up into Bram there.
Yep,
And I assume 15 miles south of here is Anoka County, right?
correct.
Okay.
well, like I said before, one of our previous public works director was driving a lot more than 25 miles, and he had a vehicle to take home.
And I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but this is,
I have a question for the chief. Approximately how many miles do you drive one way? Is it, I was thinking, under 5, you think? Or is it around 5?
Around 5, I guess.
What are the costs? Have you tracked at all what the cost of that is a year?
we'll cut the 10 miles in half. That's on your, and that's your cost.
Which one's that?
If you want to, like.
So
talk-
he's
discuss how you
probably,
feel on the breakdown.
he's probably 20 miles a week at $1,000 annual miles.
He's
Five
driving
thou-
10, he's driving 10 miles a day still.
Yeah, you would,
Because it's there and back.
Is it 10 or 5 round trip, chief?
10 round trip.
10 round trip?
yeah,
So-
so you would look at that first row, the 10 miles 4 times weekly, it'd give you a rough.
What's a lieutenant drive, roughly, chief? 10?
But is it for sure that he's moving?
No, it's not. He's
We're
been,
not gonna speculate
no,
living where.
he's been building a house for 3 years, so.
I mean, I think we gotta make a policy that's working for everybody. I would like to see us not do take-home vehicles as much as possible. I mean, even if it's 15 miles a day, I mean, you're talking about taking 3 years off of the useful life of that vehicle. And, I mean, when you watch, when they get a big call, I mean, you got everybody. I mean, you got county, and you got 2 officers that we usually have on duty, and you got Cambridge can come down and help, and the state patrol can come help if they're nearby. And, you know, I mean, I just don't see enough value to say we're gonna have to take 3 years off of the vehicle.
When you're in the fire department, Councilman Gordon, who do you call if you have an admin question?
If I have an admin question,
Yes, sir.
well, I mean, we can always call the chief, of course, and we always have.
What if the chief's
we have
on
the
vacation?
Assistant chief, and then we've got the
Okay, what-
captains, and we've got the lieutenants, and so we've always got somebody that's.
Right, so you got a
available.
lot more people implemented in the fire department than we do in our police department. So with that being said,
But they're always just a phone call away, even if those guys aren't there, and that still applies for.
and with that being said, do they have take-home vehicles? Because
Yeah, we do have one take-home vehicle.
Only one?
Then we have the duty crew cars but that's because.
they have duty crew cars, and then some people take the Tahoes home. I see them driving around town all the time.
Well, it's not some people, it's the only time that the
Is
officers are
Is
on
the
duty.
chief, the assistant chief, the captain, I see it all the time. The
No.
lieutenant.
No, those guys don't have take-home vehicles.
They don't, but they take them home at
When
times.
they're on duty, they do.
Okay,
They have
well,
a second Tahoe that's
This
for
is
the
pe-
officers to use for on duty.
this is potentially,
But
this
we're not
is,
talking about the fire department anyway, we're talking about the police department.
Right, but you said when they're on duty, well, our police officers are on duty 24/7.
correct.
They're actually on
That was the
duty-
point I was getting at,
They're
thanks.
actually in their vehicle patrolling the area when they're on duty. I mean,
No, I mean, when our chief is at home enjoying dinner with his family,
He's on duty.
he's on duty.
When the lieutenant's at
It's just,
home
co-
eating
you
dinner,
know, it comes with
and
a
he
job,
and he has a take-home
you know.
car.
Yep.
our
So
lieutenant
I'm
does.
just saying, I don't think we need a second person with a take-home car. I don't have a problem with the chief having a take-home car.
Mr. Gordon, I agree with you to a certain extent. The only thing is, you can't expect that man over there to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week without taking vacation.
365 days a year, you
yeah,
cannot.
but-
And then when you implicate somebody like Lieutenant McCartney, which he's also part of the
SRT.
SRT, which he's actually been asked to head that, which that in turn covers the whole county, which that entails, he's one of the people that would have to be called instead of calling Anoka to come up here.
Is that,
It's a lot more
What
complicated
does the SRT have to do with the city of Isani necessarily? I mean, is
because
that a
it's
county
for,
organization?
If it's a critical incident within our city, he's gonna be the first one there.
But I mean, shouldn't they provide him a vehicle then if he needs to be on call like that?
that is the city of Isani. That's part of it.
Yeah, the
But
SRT,
not the rest of the county.
Chief,
Go ahead,
what's
chief.
SRT is, you guys engaged in a joint powers agreement with them like 4 or 5 years ago. So we are the entity of SRT with the other 3 entities.
Okay.
So that would be the piece. Why?
Which is, with the other 3 entities probably are Cambridge, Bram, and Isani, and where?
That's the county, Bram, and Cambridge.
Okay.
So it's a joint powers agreement for the.
So I mean, yeah, let's all get together and get him a car then if he needs to have one for that. But-
Well, I know where you're going with it. I agree with you to a certain extent. If it was one of the other regular officers that didn't have that role to fill, I would be behind you 110%. I would be standing here arguing with you and saying with you instead of against you.
Yeah.
Is there,
I believe that what his role is a greater good of what this is covering. So in my opinion, is that we should set a mileage distance. We're gonna have to somehow eat some of this up. I'd like to have him 1099 on it, but I don't think that's possible doing with the police union contract, so we can't do that. And like I said, if it was another regular officer, just one of our normal officers, I wouldn't even consider that fact. With that situation is, I wholeheartedly believe that himself, our lieutenant, he's the next in command when the chief isn't around. You can't expect him to work 365 days a year.
No, and I don't.
And when you do that, he says, okay, I'm gonna go ice fishing and take my kids ice fishing, and there's an incident, he's gonna drop his fishing with his kids, but for him to get here from where he's ice fishing is gonna delay that process how much further when the lieutenant can be here in 5 minutes. That's something those two are gonna have to work out, saying, hey, I covered for you last week, you gotta cover for me this week, or vice versa. That's something that has to be worked out internally with them. But we're given that option so that we aren't taxing our officers to be stuck living their job 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
No, I mean, there's lots of people that have to live their job like that.
That is a business owner,
Well-
and I agree with that. But you decided to be that business owner.
Right, but we also pay a very handsome salary to the police chief. for
I hate to
that.
tell you, I make more money than that police chief does. And I'm not gonna work 365 days a year, sorry.
Yeah.
And I make more money than he does. So it's an argument that can go anywhere. I agree, it's gonna cost us money in the long run eventually, but I think we need to give a distance. We're giving him that perk, it's a done deal.
Yeah, and I don't disagree that there's times where he's gonna be out of town, then let the lieutenant take the car home at that time, you know, if it's, you know, they could share it, if somebody's gonna be gone, then have the other guy take the car home, but I don't wanna see us have another car that
Well, that's my
loses 3
question.
years of its useful life, and
Is there
just to have
something-
this.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I just wonder if there's something in between what we're saying here. Is there, rather than a everyday car, you know, work it out where he takes it home when he's on, as an as-needed basis?
you don't know
I
when
think
it's needed
Chief
though.
Myers
That's
would
the-
would like to chime in.
Just to try to clear up, as far as in the option, it'd be very simple if I'm on vacation for a week to say, here you go, take this car. However, if I say, hey, I'm running down to Brooklyn Park, I gotta bring my kids to wrestling. Well, then I'd have to have a lieutenant come get the car, 3-hour minimum, you pay him 3-hour minimum to come get the car. Every time that I leave.
That's for a callback per union
callback.
contract.
So that would be the trade-off, we could get by without a car, but we'd have multiple 3-hour minimums to call him.
Which in the long run is going to probably cost us a lot more money than just giving him the car.
What happens right now then when he goes down to Brooklyn Park? Then there's just nobody around, so
Right,
he's
yeah.
always a phone call away, so nothing is.
So we'll-
it's
we'll
not
pay
gonna
that
cost
3
us
hours?
more, it would just be the same as it is now.
We'll just pay the 3
No,
hours
we're
all the
not paying
time.
Are we paying the 3 hours now? We're not paying
we're
the 3
not.
hours now, so it's not a change. If it
It's a
just stays
union
the same.
contract. We're going to
You're
have
missing
to.
the point, Jeff.
No, you're missing the point.
I think if,
Jimmy.
I think if Chief has a wrestling tournament with his kid.
This was fire. This wouldn't be an argument.
That's BS,
No, it's not.
and you know it.
No, it's not.
Come on, guys, that's enough.
But my only point is I think there's something in between here where if the chief knows he has
Ridiculous.
if the chief knows he has a tournament with his kids, I would say take the car home. Or if he's in doubt, he says, I might be doing this, well, then take the car home. I'm not saying we have to have strict rules, but I'd like to see it 2 or 3 days a week rather than every day of the week. Or 4 or 5, you know, rather than all 7 days of the week. I mean, I want the chief to have a life too. I'm not trying to get him not to go see his kids wrestle or whatever else he does.
And, you know, perfect world that'd work, but. then
That's what
you're-
I'm saying, is we're
Then they're
making it- we're
needing,
making it
how are they
work
gonna,
already that way.
how are they gonna juggle their personal vehicle? And they
Well, let's
gonna
have the
leave a
chief weigh in on
personal vehicle at the PD all the time, so it's there? I think that, that wouldn't work either.
I don't know, unless you try it, we could always revisit after 6 months, but
What
what do you think, chief, on that? Do you think,
What I mean is, chief says he takes his car home while his personal vehicle's there. Okay, so McCarty takes the chief's vehicle home or on-call vehicle home, and he brings it back. But he'd have to leave his personal vehicle there. You know what I'm saying?
Now he's,
So now he's
stuck
short
to
of a
his own.
personal vehicle at home, or he's stuck in the snow, or, does that make sense?
you
what
say
I'm
when he
trying to-
goes to the cities, he takes his personal vehicle for like going to the wrestling match with his kids and then comes back and gets his police vehicle, is that what you're saying?
Absolutely, he does.
Okay, well, that's fine, I'm fine with that, that's what I'm saying.
When he
if
goes
you don't
ice
get-
fishing, he takes his personal vehicle.
Yeah,
So if a
absolutely.
critical incident was to happen in our city, he's got to run home, drop his kids and stuff off, get in that city vehicle, then come to the critical incident.
And why can't you say to the lieutenant, why don't you take a city vehicle home this weekend?
Because then if he does, then he doesn't have a personal vehicle to use,
At
and he's
home.
gotta do personal matters.
His personal vehicle would be here, I mean,
Correct.
yeah, well, that's.
That's what
I
I'm
mean,
getting
but
at.
it'd be the same thing either way, wouldn't it? Why would,
No, it wouldn't be. If he had a
Or is it-
vehicle all the time, he wouldn't have a personal vehicle stuck at PD.
I don't get how we went from let's GPS this to now let's do away with it totally. I mean, one week you guys say one thing and now the next week we're totally different on this.
I didn't want it last time either.
I think a 15-mile radius.
I think 10 would be efficient, but we're 5, 15, and 25 here.
10.
So
Yeah, I'd be fine with 10. I mean, that gets you to,
now you're halfway in between that 15 and that 5.
yeah. I mean, you can be on the other side of Cambridge. That's
Yeah.
10 miles, roughly, give or take, depending on where.
I guess I'd be fine with the 15, that's just getting it to the outside of the county, and it pretty much covers the whole county, except for our corners. But that's fine with me, I mean, if we
15 is a good
10,
compromise.
15, whatever.
15's a good compromise.
So what are we looking here for? Do we want,
I'm looking for the majority or consensus. So what I'm hearing from 3 people is 15 miles one way out, correct?
correct?
I know where Councilmember Gordon stands, Councilmember Burgley.
well, I'm just wondering if it would work, not giving him the vehicle every day, 3 days a week, or 2 or 4 or something like that.
Chief, would you care to answer that?
Yeah, I'm all in favor of hearing what the chief thinks.
I mean, I think Councilman Collison kind of addressed just the logistics issue. I mean, let's just say that if I was to take the vehicle home 3 days a week, I drive my personal vehicle to work, take the city vehicle home. Now, if I want to go ice fishing,
You're
I'm
stuck at home, you
stuck
can't.
Because I really not can't go anywhere. And that's kind of the logistic piece behind that. And I think the other piece as far as, Councilman Burgley, as far as, I think you mentioned last time and this time, as far, there's a lot of officers working at a time, but the whole role of having an administrative person show up to a critical incident isn't to, like, respond to something in progress, meaning that they're gonna actually be the officers going into the door or dealing with the situation. It's dealing with the administrative oversight of that, or the tactical oversight of that. Like we talked about critical incidents, I mentioned the one that was, the metro where there was a critical incident, same agency. And without having our interest at hand, meaning the city of Isani, we don't want to rely on the state patrol supervisor coming in and handling critical incident, where we're the ones that are going to be civilly, criminally liable for. We want myself or lieutenant, to go there and handle that critical incident, because we're the ones that are ultimately responsible, whether it's in the civil litigation matter or the criminal matter, as far as how that's going to go out. So I would rather have myself or my lieutenant going to a critical incident to make sure that those pieces are handled appropriately. And I mean, getting into a lot of detail, I think I mentioned there's a great video of one that wasn't handled appropriately because another agency supervisor was the first one on scene, questioned the officer inappropriately, which in turn cost the city a lot more millions of dollars than if it was handled appropriately. Because again, that outside agency doesn't have as much stake in the game, you know, as far as to make sure things are being handled right. And that was a time thing. That was a matter of the first 15 minutes of that critical incident, that decision from a different agency to have that person questioned, the officer questioned, and it would cost them a lot of money.
And all I was getting at, Councilman Gordon, was there's 4 to 5 different administrators within that fire department, and that's why it makes it so great.
No, you were getting at that I would be okay spending money on fire department stuff when I'm not okay with spending it on police department stuff.
No,
And
that's
you-
not what I was.
You know, no, that is what you were trying to get at, and you know that's false. You know I don't wanna spend money on anything.
That's true.
That's true.
That's true. And all I'm trying to do is make our community a safer place, whether it's fire or police or city hall at that matter.
Mayor and council, I think what I have here is a majority of the council. I recommend that we bring this forward to council because it still does need to be voted and formally discussed and reviewed. And at this time, within that policy that was drafted, I'll keep it as is with the addition of adding 15 miles one way, or I'll look at it, it'll be 30 miles round trip. And then we can have further discussion as a business item.
There was talk about a GPS. I don't know if we looked at the cost on that or
They have
GPS on the vehicles.
I believe,
or-
Chief, they have the ability, if need be, to pull it, correct?
They're,
With
they're
geotag?
all on GPS right now.
Yeah, it's 30.
Correct.
30, oh, don't, it's around $30 a month per vehicle.
We currently do that though, right?
On all our patrol vehicles, yeah.
Patrol
Just yours and the lieutenants do not have it,
And the investigators.
and the invest.
and the
Yeah,
investigator.
those 3 vehicles don't.
Although I think it'd be a wise thing to have them on all the vehicles. I mean, just in case an investigator goes to some place and you don't know where he's at,
I
you know,
think- I
and
think
it's a
it'd
good
be-
way to, it's a security purpose for
I think
them.
it'd be wise to have them on all but yours.
I think it'd be even wise on his, because he'd be the one that's administrating where they're at.
Yeah, but you don't want, he's supervising the police. You don't want the police to know where he's at. He pops up and
They wouldn't
surprise.
know where he's at, because he'd have to use his password to find out.
Well, actually, we can see every GPS within the county.
So you could, if you were in a police car, you could see me, I could see you. Could see
I'm
you.
just looking at it as a potential safety issue.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah, I
okay
think
with that.
if we're gonna do take-home vehicles, they ought to all have, every single one of them ought to have GPS on.
Yeah, my company van has a GPS in it. And I don't think I think it's a good safety measure, especially for a police officer. You know, they could have somebody pull over and they get, you know, a couple miles out of 5 and go on the side road and something, say the guy shoots them, you don't even know where his vehicle is.
Liability reasons for the city too, I mean,
And I think that would be something
Not
that
that we have-
probably would help in insurance purposes even.
not that we,
We want to add that as K2, Ms. Wood?
It's up to committee, if you want to bring it forward on tonight and.
Well, I
and
thought
add it
that's
to
what
the
you
agenda.
mentioned, was you wanted to put it on the agenda, and
Oh, I just meant a future agenda. I didn't know, if you want it to go tonight, otherwise it'll go to March 2nd.
no, let's go
Within the
tonight
packet.
with it. You guys okay with that?
Okay.
Then are you okay with doing as an unbudgeted expense for adding, if need be, the GPS to these additional 3 vehicles?
I believe so.
Is that costing us $90? It's under 100.
Per month? Per vehicle?
101 per vehicle?
Or- No, I'm sorry.
30 a month per vehicle.
Are you okay with that? I don't see why you wouldn't be, but
I don't have no problem with that.
I don't either. Nope.
No, as long as add to the budget.
K4.
Do those GPSs only work when your computer's on, or is
No.
that something that works?
Works all the time.
I can go start my van, they know exactly when I started it. They know exactly when I shut it off. They know when I open my damn doors. I'm surprised it doesn't tell them if I have my seatbelt on or not.
Maybe it does, and you just don't know.
No, I've never been called on that one. I've been called on other things. It knows when I'm speeding. It knows everything.
All right, what I'm hearing that we're going to add it to tonight's agenda as a business item will be added as K4, so there could be further discussion and then voting. All right, we'll move on.
Moving on to E8, lighting infill.
Mayor and members of the City Council, this was, we have $10,000 a year allocated to the CIP plan for lighting infill. I put together a plan here as far as where lights are needed, identified 22 different locations in town where lights are needed. I got prices on those lights, and each one of those is consistent with what is already there. Like on County Road 5, in the different neighborhoods, it's not a different light, it's the same light that's already there, so it doesn't look different. And you can see that they kind of bounce around a little bit on the spreadsheet, and that's just because we have 10,000 a year, and this being the one we probably need the most, then to balance that out, had to find another one down the line to reach that $10,000. Looking for direction.
What,
Last time we did it over a 3-year period, correct? When we first did the initial lighting infill, when we had the Public Works Committee meeting,
I want to say it was 5 years
I
total.
think it was 5.
I think.
5 year
Yes.
total?
Yeah, because
It
when
was-
I came on, I think that we had 3 years remaining of it.
And then a couple of years ago, Mayor Wimmer says, we're done with that program now, thank God. And that was, I remember him saying that we were done with that program.
why are we
So-
paying for lights on County Road 5 or 65?
those are
Those are county roads and state roads.
intersections.
Those lights on County Road 5 would be like out here on our sidewalk from Whiskey Road coming this way. I think I put to add in 3 lights there, because that sidewalk right there is dark. There's no lights on that sidewalk. The Hillock Court one shines on the Hillock Court Drive, doesn't do nothing for County Road 5. Same ones down here down here, their lights just, they don't shine those sidewalks up, and it being the road that it is, the fact that there's foot traffic on that road to our different neighborhoods, I thought those lights, those needed more light.
And I'm not going to disagree with you, but did we lean into the county at all to see if they'd help us on this? I mean, it is their road.
I reached out to the county and asked them if I needed certain permits, right-of-way permits or anything like that, and I never heard nothing back from them on anything. So I went ahead and got prices from Connexus on what these lights would cost.
I think we should entertain the thought looking at the county, because that is a county road. If we do anything on Whiskey Road, they blow a gasket.
Absolutely.
Because that's their road.
Now we're going, I mean, don't get me wrong, Matt, I think your areas need to be lighted, by all means, it's for the safety of the resident, but we're swallowing the cost for the county, or the state, at that matter. I mean, we should be leaning on them and saying, hey, our residents are asking for a little more light, can you help us out here? And if they tell us no, well, then you come back and tell us that.
Are these lights, they're not shining out, like the Whiskey Road self-passage, that's not shining out over the road.
No,
It's shining
that is-
inwards on the
Yep.
trail intersection.
It's a
correct?
pedestrian traffic.
On Isani Parkway,
Yep.
yes.
So basically, you just got,
Or South Passage, I'm sorry.
with the county, you'd only be dealing with the right-of-way issue.
Right, and that would be that one there. You kind of look on the map, it maybe doesn't show it as good, but you kind of see
Am I
where,
wrong?
that would be 2021 down there, so where
Yep.
you're talking at right there.
It is
It's
dark there.
and it is that corner, that's facing, this side of that. Yeah.
I'd like to ask Mr. Cook, have we ever reached out to the county in prior years? Because I know you assisted in some of that lighting infill, and it was discussed as a corridor back in the day. Do you know if the county was ever approached?
No, when we did that, down, the segment from 65 to the tracks, I think we looked at just recently.
Yep.
And no, that never got past the goal setting, I think, here, so we never talked to the county. Regarding most of these lights, the fact that they would be 4 along a trail or a sidewalk, it'd be pretty unlikely that the county would probably be the ones that would agree to pony up that money, because just like the ownership of those sidewalks and trails, they basically say that's yours to maintain and build and use, but we'll let you put it there. I would assume it would be the same, but, can't hurt to ask, like you say. Certainly if a couple of them actually light an intersection, I would think that at least it'd be a valid discussion to have.
That, like the 2021, that won't intrude into the backyards of those homes, would it? The beam?
No, it'd be, you talking about the South Passage one again? That's
Yeah.
what you're talking about? That is just the way the other ones are. You drive down South Passage now, it's just that exact same light sitting
Okay.
on the same distance off the
Like
path.
shoebox style?
Yep, same shoebox style light, exactly what's already there. And some of these are using existing poles that are there now, that is just cheaper to put on that pole that's there. So, that is utilized also.
But again, Matt, I mean, you know just as well as I do, we did anything on Whiskey Road, they'd flip out.
Isn't there a pole already right there?
For that one you're talking about?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that's,
Oh, there isn't?
No.
oh, I thought there was.
that's-
Oh,
It's
on the other side of the road.
It's
Yeah.
on the other side.
You can look on the map here also, so, oh, we took that layer off, did we, that showed the poles. Regardless, if you look on the map here, the ones that are
I was thinking there
pink-
was a power
There's
pole
little
there on that
circles.
corner, but
Oh,
I
yeah,
think
they're
it's,
really, yes, they are, you can see, and they're a little bit harder to see, but there are poles on the map here, they're just a little bit lighter color in white, that's an existing pole that's there. The reason why there's the pink ones and the somewhat green colored ones, the pink ones are LED now, the other ones are non-LED, so I wanted to point those out also, because Conexus is switching them over to LEDs as they go bad in residential areas or anywhere in town, but not necessarily all the time. So if it's as simple as screwing a bulb in, and that's all it is, the bulb, they'll put a bulb in it. If it's not that simple, then they're gonna switch it over to LED. That's when that's taking place, and there's some sporadic ones, and you look on here, they're LED because it was that issue. All the new developments all get LED when they go in. So the Bel Air, that stuff is already all LED.
And I would assume you reached out to Centerpoint for some of these costs as well.
No, these are all from
Conexus.
Conexus's costs. I met with their lighting designer, showed them these locations, said, here's what I want to do, you know, come up with a cost. And that's where, say, utilizing an existing pole that's there brings that price down a lot. If they have to add a transformer to that pole that's not on there now, then that price goes up again.
I know Jason's saying that it would be unlikely for the county, but I would at least like to ask and be told no. Then we'd revisit that. I just don't see why we're gonna put lights on a county road or a state road and we're gonna absorb
if
that cost.
if the beam isn't going out on the county road, I can guarantee the county ain't gonna want even,
Most of those beams would be going out on County Road 5 to a certain extent, right? Because it can't just, it's utilizing what is already there, not to put something different there. It's using, you know, the same style of lights that was already there, just using an existing pole if possible, or trying to light up that sidewalk or that bike path, whatever is there.
Council, the majority of those years for those projects on those county roads are farther out. Besides that, and Matt can definitely look into that further to see if there is any appetite from the county and reach out even a couple times, if not a few, before they actually come time where we would need to amend this schedule, this 10-year schedule. Other than that, does it seem like it looks like fairly good catching those dark areas on our other streets?
Yeah, I like it. I like your whole plan here, Matt. I'm not saying let's ex-nay this plan. I like it, and for one, I'm speaking for myself, but I'd like to adopt it. But at the same time, I want to see if some of these costs could be slashed by the county, or you're saying Centerpoint already slashed some of these?
Conexus. These
I
prices
keep
come
saying
from Conexus.
Centerpoint, I don't know why, Conexus. So they've already slashed it, now what about the county or the state, would they slash it even more? I think I would exhaust every option that I had, but I definitely like your plan.
Did you look at going into some of these cul-de-sacs?
Yeah, the one cul-de-sac, okay, so the one cul-de-sac that doesn't have one that really would fall into that category would be Deerhaven Court. It's over 300 feet, and any of the cul-de-sacs over 300 feet should have one. That's kind of like the spacing out there is 300 feet, right, Jason? On street lighting is 300 feet, so that one cul-de-sac is over that 300-foot mark. Should have had a light on it to start with, for some reason didn't have a light, but that one is the one cul-de-sac that I came up with. Rum River Court doesn't fall, that doesn't, it's too short. I want to say it was like 140 or some feet, something like that down there, and that would be off of Birch, that cul-de-sac there.
So you said allocated, you mean allocated from the general budget type of?
It's, yep, this is in, the CIP plan has $10,000 a year for lighting infill.
Okay.
And this is just to review this draft plan. So this plan to be formally adopted will come back to council. And before that happens, he can reach out to the county and any other entities. And then beyond that, every time we do purchase lights, that would come back again to council. This is just to help guide staff into areas to focus the budget that we have. But it will come back to council a couple times.
Okay, sounds good to me.
Yeah, I like the plan. I mean, for some reason that, in my mind, last year when we had the budget, or the goal-setting meeting, we were talking about lighting infill on 5, And we were thinking like $13,000 was gonna cover like several lights. So that must not have been right. I don't know why that's sticking out to me, but did the price go up on a lot of this stuff, or is it just, that's what it is and that's what it's always been?
I guess, did you give them the pricing that you got per each one?
The one that you sent me?
No, just like what you have. So the pricing is based on the individual situation. So along 5, the fact that there's poles already there for a lot of them.
Oh, okay.
It's only like $1,000+ to add a pole to.
Gotcha. So that's why at that time when we were discussing that, it was a lot
You could get a
less.
handful of them in for just 1,000 or 2
Sure.
apiece, whereas you gotta add a whole pole, now you're looking at $5,000, $6,000, $8,000. So
Gotcha.
it
Okay.
kinda is dependent on the location and
Sure.
what kind of improvement has to happen.
Okay.
But I don't know if that number was quite there, but
Yeah,
it's
but
that kinda idea.
that explains that, yeah, so. But no, I think the plan is good. I mean, I think those are areas that need the lighting and, I mean, that Whiskey Road and South Passage, I mean, it's pitch black over there.
That
so.
intersection is just,
Very much so.
and there is a
South
crossing
Passage
there.
and
Pedestrian crossing there, you
Whiskey.
know.
Yeah, yeah,
It's so dark there.
yeah. And that was my whole, as long as I've been on council, I mean, Councilman Collison knows, I've been really pushing for finishing up sidewalks and getting streetlights. Because there's, when you first went down Railroad Avenue and South Passage, that was never a sidewalk there. And I used to go up to the car wash every night at 10 o'clock and shut it down. There must have been 20 people every night walking that thing. And then we got the sidewalk, got some lights in there, but then it was too dark, you still couldn't see the darn people. And that's, believe it or not, a lot of people walk in this town.
In the summer, heck
And,
yeah.
and I see a lot of them walking, even today I seen a lot of people walking in town.
It was above 0. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's 30-degree
heat wave.
temperature swing.
Put my windows
But-
down.
But I mean, it's always a big thing to be more cautious for the safety of our residents. And some of these areas, there's still brushes and whatnot, when they talked about that pedestrian bridge, they wanted to have that crossover by where the new liquor store's going in. And that would come down in those woods. Well, I sure the heck wouldn't send my kid over there because you never know who's hiding in them dang woods.
Yeah.
And I think it's crime, Minneapolis right now is up like 70%. All crime in Minneapolis. And it's just getting worse and worse. no
You
matter
take
what they
away
do.
the opportunity, there's no crime.
That's right.
All right, so Matt will reach out to the county, talk with them, and then we'll bring a formal scheduled plan back. Thank you.
Let's move on to E9 then, the holiday lighting event.
Mr. Becker is going to talk about that.
So I've got a number of pages in the packet for review. I'll just, I won't go through the details unless anybody has questions or wants to discuss any particulars on it. Barring any new information about being able to get, used or rehabbed or whatever lighting displays from Bentleyville, basically as I go through this and think about how we might be able to pull this off, I think the best way to do this is a public-private partnership that is somewhat yet to be determined. The basic course of action would be to establish the budgets for that partnership mix through the end of the year, right? So basically spend the rest of the year, probably send the PRC coordinator, visit businesses, talk to individuals, try to identify people that are willing to purchase displays. Displays, I mean, as you can see in the packet, displays can be $270 for a small tree to $25,000 for a gigantic animated LED display. Anybody that wants to donate that, obviously, we'd light a little sign in the front that says, hey, this was donated or brought to you by, so-and-so. They'd get that repeat exposure, kind of that marketing, right, for a period of 10 or 20 years, how long ever the display would last. And, and we'd have to just see how that goes. We'd have to just go and meet with them and try to identify, two businesses or individuals every week and see what they're willing to commit to, if we end up with a lot of support for that from the private sector, then to pull it off, the city's contribution is considerably smaller. And of course, the opposite is true. But then during the budget process this year, we would be able to figure that out. In either case, if we're going to go ahead with this plan, the best bet is clearly for the city to be buying all of the displays in the first quarter of next year, because we can get a gigantic discount on those things. If we do it and we do it at that time of the year and we do it all at once, we get a massive discount on that stuff. If you try to wait, all the vendors said the same thing. If you try to wait until August like everybody else, prices go right back up. If you're willing to buy them at that certain time of the year, you can get a big discount, anywhere from 15 to 25%. Yeah, and then we'd have to set up a little time for an actual layout. Probably keep the seasonals around for an extra month, get it laid out, light it up from November through Christmas. Maybe just Friday, Saturday night, 5 to 10 or something like that. It'd be a walkthrough display, and that would be the goal. We'll have to kind of see how it goes, but the sky's the limit on how much we could spend, but
Mike, do you like Christmas?
yeah.
Do you like looking at lights?
I go to Bentleyville every year.
It shows because you put a lot of effort into it, and I like the plan you came up with.
I tried to think through all the details quite thoroughly, yes.
I'd like to see this new gal that comes in for their park and rec coordinator. Ms. Wood advised me that she worked on the, what was it, the St. Paul Carnival?
Winter Carnival?
Winter Carnival. And I think that Mr. Johnson had put a lot of time in and talked to some of these people. I think maybe Mayor Johnson can get those contacts to her, and she can do her job, and she knows what she's doing. That Winter Carnival is a huge thing. And,
I like his idea, though, where if I'm giving her contacts and then she
that's exactly it. That's what I mean.
reaches
You
out
give
to
her the
the-
contacts, and she can.
reaches out to the public donates,
Yep.
the public
Yeah.
starts paying for these displays, I think it would
Yeah,
be
less
hit in
rough
our
math in my
pocket.
head, understanding what we need to be able to raise in order to have this not look like we pulled decorations out of grandma's front yard, right?
Yeah.
To have this look good, to be able to get to that point where it's not that, it's something that actually attracts people. I think this person probably needs to be visiting at least 2 businesses a week through the end of the year. I mean, this wouldn't just be for now. I mean, I think they're gonna need to be able to get through at least 80 businesses or individuals willing to participate. And then probably gonna need at least a quarter of them to contribute in some reasonable capacity.
I think she's capable. If she had to
Yeah,
deal with the Winter Carnival, she's definitely capable of taking on this small task.
Yeah, and there are certainly some businesses that are much better opportunity to get to donate than others. Some would have a much more vested interest in putting up a lighted display than others, and it's not too hard to imagine which companies might be willing to do that, so.
Are we talking just companies within the city limits?
It would be beyond some bigger sponsors as well, typically.
Target, Walmart, Menards. I mean,
Whatever.
Yep, local businesses, but also electric utilities would be a really good one too. East Central and Connexus would be
Oh,
good
yeah.
entities to be talking to. They'd probably be very happy to participate in
We
some
could have the
capacity.
city of Cambridge donate a display.
that'd be his
So-
raise next year.
Council, if the consensus is that we want this to move forward and have the parks coordinator work on this, she would then develop some parameters and some ideas and before she could even reach out to businesses, council would need to decide if we wanted to charge people to visit or not. There's some logistics that would need to be discussed because she will need that information, so she would come together with a plan and then be able to execute some of those activities.
I think that's a good idea. I think we have to start somewhere and know where we're gonna go with this, or what our input is gonna be on this thing. I think that she needs to, like I said, she's worked on Winter Carnival. She knows.
I think she'll be able to give great insight before we
Yep.
start this endeavor that we'd be foolish to discuss now without her, so.
Yep,
I agree.
I agree.
How does Bentleyville function? I mean, is that all a nonprofit and the city lets them use that property, or what's the?
Essentially, yeah. The
The city-
city provides the parking traffic control type stuff, but on the site, it's city-owned property. They're allowed to, well, they take a gigantic number of months of the year to set up and tear down, but yeah.
The city collects the parking fee. The city can collect the parking fee, and everything else is done through a 501(c)(3). And that's how that is all generated. So they do a lot of food drive with it. They have a lot of local businesses that sponsor, gold, platinum, however you want to word it. Because I looked into it myself back then.
'Cause I like that model more, that we provide you we'll even provide the power, I mean, run the electric and run the wiring and everything like that and provide you the space to do it, but I don't think we should be involved in necessarily purchasing displays and, you know, setting up and taking down and all that stuff. I mean,
Their businesses are buying the displays.
I'd like to
They'll-
see the
they'll
city
do the setup and
have
take
one
down.
display.
Well,
what'd you say, Dan?
I'd like to see the city have one display.
Well, yeah, okay.
Well, yeah.
I'm not
But
saying-
we may
know,
have
like-
to at start, we
like
may have
that.
to front some of this to get this ball rolling. And I don't have any problem with that. This thing is only gonna grow. I mean, you build it, they will come.
when I
And
talked to the
honestly believe
Bentleyville director, it was not only that they charged for parking, they were able to collect that fee, but they get so many massive donations. There's donation box throughout that display.
You can't walk 5 feet without getting one.
And that's no exaggeration, and them things were full every time I've been to Bentleyville. So, because people like what they're seeing, so they donate. I mean, when I went to the one in Wisconsin, I donated, and I don't donate to too many things.
That thing in Wisconsin was really nice. Miss Wood went there also, and Mayor Johnson did. And I'll be honest with you, I was actually really surprised on how well it was done as a private individual that did this. And I mean, there's a lot of things. I mean, you can go out and buy a dog kennel and make it look like a present box.
They
and
did
it's
it.
just lit.
They
and that's
did
what
it.
they did. They took corn crib and they made it look like this, and then it was phenomenal. It was worth the money. And I'm not one that, I'm like you a lot of times. I'm very frugal on certain things, and that's probably something I'd probably go back again to. It was, it was outrageous what they were charging. You wanted to go get something to eat or pop or something, but I
They
mean,
have good
that's
pizza.
private bar business.
They
You
did
know,
have good pizza.
But I mean, that's what they charge. That's what you're gonna get. So,
Do you remember what we paid for that pizza?
I think it was $5 a slice or
Yeah, it was
something.
crazy, whatever it was.
I don't think
Jimmy,
it's that
Jimmy,
But it was good.
$5
It
a
was
pizza
big.
It
slice.
was good.
You could get a little shed out there and
bad. Three kids shared,
You could
three
sell
kids shared one
pizzas and-
piece. They
You
were
gotta
big
wear a
piece for
Santa
$5.
outfit, though.
Jimmy's Pizza could have a lighting display of a, slice of pizza up there. And
Decorate the food truck with the wheels going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so that's what I think we ought to do is let her. She's done this. She knows what she's doing on this.
And what Councilmember Gordon is saying some cities do that as well. I think the Princeton display is an example of that, where they've had organizations put together displays, and even the volunteer times, they reach out to clubs and organizations to help man it and things like that.
As well as we could. I can give her all them contacts she needs for volunteers. And they could, if somebody buys a display, the volunteers set it up.
Yeah,
I think it'll work.
in a perfect world for what I'm proposing, we gather enough private donations that we aren't really doing anything other than allowing public use of the land and ensuring that there's electrical. That'd be ideal, but there may very well come a point where the council's gonna have to decide, okay, we have, $110,000 worth of commitments on lighting displays, but we think we need to get to 140 to make it worthwhile. Are we willing to now contribute 30 after private sector's contributed 110?
It's a long-term payout, though.
Yeah, but that would be for the council to decide. And at some point, if we're successful, we get some donations, we get somewhere with the private sector, a decision like that would end up coming before the council.
And then it's
Something.
huge. Take it out in Bluebird Park. You got Sliding Hills, so the family come out there. It's all a family, all-day event deal. I think would be huge for the community.
But, yeah, we'll start down the path. We'll see where it goes.
good to be a good time to bring back the chili feed.
The City Hall chili feed cook-off.
Whatever happened with that?
It's the ATV snowmobile
Yeah, I meant to
parade is what
put
you're
that on
talking
the
about?
agenda, and I keep forgetting to have that discussion with these guys. Didn't the chief of police used to do that?
It was put on by the old, Councilman Burgley probably knows what group that was. It was the downtown chamber of commerce that went up to 65 chamber of commerce. What was that group? They're the ones that actually organized it.
That was that snowmobile thing I knew.
Yeah.
I think they ended up at the,
Community center.
I literally get a half a dozen, your mic's not on, Councilman Wrigley. I literally get a half a dozen people that come to me, if not 6 to 10, in the past 2 years asking me why we did away with that. And can we make it an ATV/snowmobile parade?
That's
Can
what
we
I
bring
mean.
that back?
I don't know what did
We can
happen. I
discuss
don't even
that
know- I
another
don't- I don't know
call.
what, I don't know what did happen.
I think we should discuss that at another cow.
Yeah,
Well,
I agree.
Yeah.
So let's move on to E10, the Easter egg hunt event. Sorry, chief.
Mayor Johnson, members of City Council, this was a 2020 goal-setting item. We didn't talk about it this year, goal-setting, but I was asked to bring it back now, of an Easter egg hunt in Bluebird Park. We plan for approximately 200 kids to come to the event. We figure it's gonna cost $1,900 for event candy and egg costs, and then a banner for another $100. Looking for direction if we wanna move forward with this for sometime in the end of March.
Did we get an exact number on that candy cane hunt? I was there, and I could tell you there was people everywhere, and people had fun.
Yeah.
So I think this would work too, but did we ever get an exact number?
I don't know if I got an exact number. I don't know if we counted people that came. I know that it started did it start at 5 or 6 o'clock that night? And it was supposed to go till 7, I think. There were people showing up throughout the entire event,
Yeah.
that were still coming an hour after that started. So we would have to stage this. We'd have to do some planning involved. And this just hasn't been any planning really involved, just trying to get some numbers together and how we can pull this off if we're gonna do it. But we'd have,
I know VFW does the Easter egg hunt. I don't know if you could reach out to them, maybe it's something you guys could do a joint effort together and just.
I reached out to the VFW. They do usually do an Easter egg hunt every year, but she said that, I asked her if you were doing one this year, and she said usually we don't start it till a couple weeks before Easter. They get together and put it together. So they're not planning for it now, just they'll know a couple weeks before Easter if they're gonna have it, and then they'll have it.
That's too short of a window.
That's too short of a window.
We wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah.
I think I would suggest maybe talking to the VFW and see if they'd be interested in
Joining effort.
joining effort, if
That's-
nothing else,
yeah.
with the money-wise and,
Tell them we'll give you, a bigger area for your Easter egg hunt if you help us out some way, somehow.
but there again, our Park and Rec gal doesn't start till March, so we almost have to start planning something now. I mean, it's,
Maybe it's something, maybe next year.
Find the golden egg.
For seeing if VFW is interested.
One thing
Find
that
out
is
for this.
exciting is, I think that when she comes in, she's gonna look at all of our events and find out, because obviously we're not, unless you want to, we're not looking to increase our budget. We're looking to just look at what we have and then potentially make some tweaks and make some new exciting
And who knows,
events.
she might recommend throwing some of them out. She might recommend making them bigger and better, we don't know until she gets here. But I don't know that I'd want that to die yet.
And one thing too-
Anything for a community that, I don't know, my kids love going to things like that.
Well, and our hope is that she
I'm
will
gonna
reach
start
out to the
calling
community and
Councilman
find out
Gordon.
what are they looking
Taking your
for.
kids with too.
I think there's enough of this kind of stuff going on, just, there's churches that do it in the VFW, and I don't see a need for us to throw one more in. I think there's enough of it.
would you
And
be
he's got
realized,
kids.
you know how many times people go on Facebook, is there an Easter egg hunt somewhere? And there's nobody who answers that?
I'm just saying if there's a way we can combine efforts, have
Yeah,
one
that'd
big
be
one,
fine. Yeah,
you
let's
know.
combine it, let's kind of help him.
That's why I said I think we should reach out to the VFW and see if they could commit to combining with us this year and start planning it now rather than later. 2 weeks isn't a lot of notice.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I don't want to do another one in addition to it, and I don't want to foot the entire bill of it.
No, I don't want to do that either.
No, I agree with you wholeheartedly.
I do have one question. $1,900 for candy, when you buy it in bulk, I would think $10 per kid is a lot of candy. Maybe that's the estimate, I don't know.
We kind of threw it out there, did the pricing online and found it, and we figured that's with the eggs and the candy. And, not knowing how many kids are gonna come, we figured 20 eggs per kid, and, with different ages and stuff like that, so,
There's,
there could be 400 kids, and some kids get 15 pieces, and some kid gets 5, I have no idea.
There'd be a lot more city count or,
City of Elk River did one a number of years ago. I took my kids to it, and they had like the big, kind of like our Bluebird Park, big open space, and they had everything roped off for different age groups. It was chaotic. I would never do it again. But I didn't say that.
Yes, you
would
did.
thousands of dollars in candy they went through to make that happen. Now maybe that's changed nowadays or been different, but could But it depends on the scope of size of what do you want to do. Do you want it to be small and you can limit it to certain age kids? Or are you trying to accommodate all the kids in your community? I think it can get a lot of kids because you get a lot of people coming for those.
Well, I can
things.
tell you at Halloween, there's some older kids that come to the house that shouldn't be out trick or treating.
I'm not judging.
And
that.
that's what I'm
I
saying.
think to each
I
their
only
own. If
knocked
they're
on
out
your
there
door
doing that,
once.
They're having fun. But I'm all for all age groups
What are you
to
talking
get
about? You go in the
involved
back
in
window
events,
all
but
the
it
time.
does cost.
Well, that's true.
But I think we should reach out to the VFW, see if they're interested in maybe combining efforts, and it might help them a little bit, and they help us, we can work together, collaborate.
But I'm with Councilman Gordon. I don't think we should take the blunt of that, or the whole
No,
thing.
that's why I said if we can work something with the VFW.
Maybe you could throw a, you know, like the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the golden ticket. Maybe you could,
Golden egg.
well, you know, a special prize in one of the eggs, you know, just to.
They can
to really
gladly be the
attract more
mayor for the
people.
day.
Like a, you know, some, you know, that,
Everybody wants that, right?
I don't know.
McDonald's gift certificate or something.
Well, something cool.
Yeah,
You know.
and the research that I did do on, there's a lot of them that do that, that they have, you know, the golden egg's got a thing for a bike or something, or it's a special prize, you know, if you find the one egg.
And maybe might build good local businesses that donate for
Well,
that
Chief has
prize.
probably got some bicycles he's probably could put on there.
All right,
Rifles.
let's move along here. Let's go to E11, the mobile food truck, Chapter 160, fee discussion.
All right, this was discussed at the last city council meeting for staff to bring back some more information. So a couple things that we have in here is some research of what other cities do for pricing fees and background checked information. So I'm sure you reviewed that, as well as the recommendation that staff has made upon listening to the conversation last time is that we wanted to, you can see the memo, we had the current fees in our fee schedule, but then reducing the background investigation down approximately by half almost, and then keeping the per day, per month the same, as that was pretty consistent throughout other cities, and then consideration of reducing our, well, instead of having it be for a 6-month license, it'd be for a yearly license at that $200. Seemed a little bit more in the realm of what other cities were doing.
I notice we have Chris in the audience again.
Very handsome.
Is that what you're normally seeing? I mean, is that more normal?
I'm interested to see which cities you looked at that are charging $200 a year, because I don't pay $200 a year to any city.
The city of Cambridge does $200 for 6 months or less.
That's the one that you guys copied from 2 years ago.
Yep. We have the city of North Branch does $234 for 6 months. Elk River is $100 per year. Coon Rapids is a little bit different. They do $105 per year if 21 days or fewer, or $310 per year if more than 21 days. Princeton is $250 per year. Big Lake is $200 per year. St. Francis was $50 per year. Columbia Heights, $100. Rogers, $120.
So the ones that you're mentioning that are 200 plus, we don't go there. And I think that's the point that we were trying to make, is trying to make the city more welcoming and inviting the food trucks. Nobody serves in Princeton. Nobody serves in Big Lake. I mean, at least none of the reputable trucks that I work with. I'm on the Food Truck Association board of directors. I'm pretty well invested in that. They just don't go. Especially when you're talking about places like Princeton that are more outstate and outside the metro area. There's no reason for them to make that drive, since most of the trucks are based in the metro. There's no reason for them to make that drive and pay that extra money.
How much was Ham Lake?
It's up to you guys on how you want to do it.
How much was Ham Lake again?
Ham Lake was regulated by Anoka County. They did not have city fees
And Ham Lake has nothing.
because the county does it.
I see food trucks all over Ham Lake.
Because it doesn't cost us anything. All we have to do is get the Anoka County permit, which is, I paid $130, I believe, last year for the entire county of Anoka.
Forest Lake doesn't have anything either, and
Well, not the entire county. It's, I mean,
There are cities within the county that have their own business
Like
permits and things such
Coon,
as
you
that.
said Coon Rapids, so you have to pay on the county fee on top of the city fee?
Yes.
Oh.
This is why this becomes such a hot us.
So it's expensive
Because
down there.
It costs me $290 for a Minnesota Department of Health fee every year. Then I have to pay Anoka County, Ramsey County, Washington County just came up with a new fee. And then within each of those counties, we have other cities that are trying to, run a business permit or whatever it may be, however they want to classify it. So it becomes
So what's,
really prohibitive to business.
what's Isani County charge you?
Nothing.
Exactly. So I think it's worth the drive to come up here. To go to Coon Rapids, you're paying their fee plus Anoka County's fee? And other cities within Anoka County?
Yeah, but that's
So
the
you're
same
saying he's
thing,
not going there? is
that's
what
the
you're
same
saying.
thing we're doing now, Councilman Collison, is
No.
Well, Isani
There-
County doesn't charge.
Isani
the
County
county
charge.
doesn't,
So
they don't
they're
charge you
not getting
anything.
double whammied.
She'll charge them $200?
I think $200 if you did it for 6 months or a year, I don't see anything wrong with that. Unless you only plan on coming up here one time out throughout the year, well then it's,
He's also stated that people that charge $200, they just don't serve him.
they don't what?
They just won't serve him.
They don't go there.
They won't go there.
And that's not to say you won't get trucks, you will.
Well, we've gotten trucks that keep coming back.
Trucks in the state will not come to your city if you're charging $200 a year.
We've had multiple trucks, repeat trucks that come back.
I'm not arguing
I
that.
agree.
Aren't most of them at the street?
What'd you say, Paul?
So to be honest with you, I think that background investigation fee of dropping it to $35, I think we did good there. But that yearly amount,
How much was Coon Rapids fee again?
So Coon Rapids,
For
I
the-
can actually
it's-
speak to that a little bit because I helped them write that ordinance.
It's how much?
It's $15 per day, 40 per week, 105 per year if 21 days or less, 310 per year if more than 21 days. And the background fee is included.
And I can tell you, even
Why
with
wouldn't we mirror
structure,
that?
I'm one of 10 trucks roughly that gets licensed in Coon Rapids every year. And the only reason I get licensed out there is because I have regular jobs out there all the time. Most trucks are not getting licensed in Coon Rapids, they think I'm nuts for going there. But I have a few good solid moneymakers that make that mostly worth it. We didn't get to where I wanted to when we wrote that ordinance, when we put that together a couple years ago. We didn't get to where I was hoping, but it's a big improvement over what they were. Their original permit was, I believe, $600 a year. And at that point, they just didn't get anybody out there.
What are the other
Yes.
cities you have within Anoka County that you have listed in
Including
fees on?
St. Francis, it's
St.
Anoka County, I
Francis.
believe. They're $50 per year.
Andover, what was Andover?
That
And
includes the
then leave the
background.
other ones
that?
the same.
St. Francis, $50 a year includes the background check too.
Blaine is $100 a year.
Andover.
Andover's
Andover.
25.
so that's what I'm thinking is why aren't we like in the $100 to $135 range year plus our $35 background fee? I mean, that's $165, give or take more so. I think that $200 is too high.
And you can set the fee whatever you'd like. I'll answer Councilmember Carlson's. For Andover is $25, for a 10-day temporary permit. And then Blaine, which I would assume is mostly in,
Now, 10 days, is that consecutive or is that can be throughout the season?
I guess it would be
I would
consecutive.
assume consecutive for more like the festivals.
Yeah.
At 25, and then Blaine was $100 annually.
This is where I'd have to lean on Chris or Councilman Gordon at that matter, because they both have food trucks. So what
Has
would
to
be
keep
more
moving.
feasible in
I'm
your
just-
guys' world?
I'm trying to understand how expensive it is down there. If we not gonna get 95% of the food trucks up here that are down there, they're paying Anoka County's fee plus those fees plus background check.
Well, they're
on
going to
some of
Ham
them.
Lake.
And to clarify,
So-
Blaine, they have to keep moving like an ice cream truck. They can't
Yep.
have it stationary for days.
Blaine actually does not allow food trucks as Jimmy's truck or my truck would be. They don't allow us. We can't park on any city street, we can't park in any public space. We can do residential private events. Commercial private events require a special event permit that has to be obtained by the host. which
There's a
costs
fee.
$25. It's literally just an obstacle that they put in our way because they've been very vocal about they do not want food trucks in Blaine, which sucks because I live there. But they've been very vocal. They've talked to, I actually know two of the owners of the Victus Brewing down there, and they were told flat out they would not allow them to have food trucks on site.
I mean, we want to be more welcoming to these food trucks. So
I
we're
think a lot
gonna
of that
fee them to
probably has
death?
a lot with the restaurants
I think that a lot of cities do get pushback from their restaurants.
Oh, we don't, our restaurants here are far and few and in between.
Right, a little different.
Studies have shown over and over and over again that food trucks do not have a detrimental impact on existing restaurants. Not to mention the fact that we prefer as an association to try to fight for regulation that isn't really involving protectionism. We don't believe that's really a valid case. Obviously, we're not gonna set up, I'm not gonna go set up in Jimmy's parking lot.
And try to sell pizza.
That doesn't do me any good anyway. I don't want to be that close to a direct competitor either. You know, so we're, again, regulations that manage the distance that you can park, like from the front door of an existing restaurant or something like that, we don't have a problem with, but we are running into some issues, and Blaine is one that I'm slowly starting to work on. We've had some changes in the council and the mayor this year that I think will be more open to our suggestions. Because we do want to, again, we want to get around, we want to serve these places. To your point, Councilman Collison, regarding why would we go to Andover or these other places, pay the Andover fee plus their city fee? They're a lot closer. They're a lot closer. I'm at the north edge of Blaine, and you guys are a half-hour drive from me. For a lot of trucks, you're talking an hour, hour 15, hour and a half, just one way for them to get there. That's a lot of time, it's a lot of fuel, because these trucks are not fuel efficient. It's a lot of extra money, expense and effort. Because of that,